Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Pure Picks. This is the pre-Thanksgiving edition, joined here by my man Alex. Alex, how are you doing tonight, the day before Thanksgiving?
What's up, everybody? I'm doing real good, man. Doing real good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know me and Alex are in a very happy mood right now. We got a lot to be thankful for, and we'll show you guys why in a second. First off, Alex, let's recap what we got going on last week with UFC Fight Night. Allen versus Craig, bangered event as far as profiting, making money, getting plays right. You had some crazy bangers. I just want you to show the Pure Pick Nation, Pure Pickers, why they're subscribed to this channel, why they like our comments, why they like the videos. Just show us why we got the plays of the year so far, in my opinion. Go ahead, Alex.
Pure pickers, if you would have just watched my video, last week's video, my best bets, and you followed my all my plays, everything hit. We had the two-leg parlay, Cooper Morales, even money. We had the Joanderson Brito money line plus money dog odds. That hit. And I even threw in a bonus Jekka system play. And the funny thing is, I said to, slam the money line there because the odds were a bit too wide, but I even had a first round KO prop, 20x, bet $25 to win 500. So like pure pickers, you gotta be following my video, man. Like I do this shit. Like I do this shit. Like there's no one better. Nobody caps fights better than me. I'm telling you. Like I have this shit. I have this game on lock. So to you pure pickers out there, man, just b- a better future to come. So stay on the lookout.
Exactly. I mean, bro, like we've only been doing this officially on the YouTube, social media for like what, 2 months, right? It's been a very kind of quick, fast transition to doing these videos because we've been betting for years, right? So it's been doing these videos, and I'm just telling you guys right now, these diamonds that we got, these plays that we have, they happen more so than not. That these are some regular plays sometimes. I mean, Alex found a plus 2,000 play, just wanted a free ball, $25 on a nice little free play kind of play right there, and he got a 220x right there, man. That's not usual in this space, right? So we really like to give you guys the value, like to give you guys the rocket ships because when they hit hard. So yeah, please continue to follow, like, and subscribe to our channels. Our website's coming out soon, and I think these picks right now are free. They're free as fuck. Going forward, though, they're going to become premium, and you guys are going to see why these are going to become premium. So please just continue to follow us, see what we got going on. As Alex mentioned, I mean, just looking at his picks from last week, this man damn near swept, not damn near, but he pretty much swept all of his picks from the Best Bets video. So major props to him. I want to go over some of our bet MMA tips, picks as well, just for the viewers as well. I mean, bet MMA tips, these are the picks that, we want to put in there that are considered locks, right? So trust me, Alex and also Gerard were they were saying, hey, why not add some 3-2? Why not add some Jekka? I was in the wrong in that case because I was like, man, I don't know about these guys adding to the bet MMA tip. I'm like, man, that's a little risky. I want to be safe for our viewers, right? Because these are safe plays for the bet MMA tips. Um, for example, just for the one of my parlays that hit, Charles Johnson over 2.5, Mick Parkin over 1.5, Morales locked to win money line. That was a plus 182. That was just a hammer. I mean, we just put one unit on the bet MMA tips, but for real, that could have been like a 3 unit play. I was very confident in that. Alex mentioned his lock with Hooper Morales. That was an easy money play right there.
Easy.
Just like plus like even money, easy money. I also gave out my prop of Trey Ogden over 2.5. We even got saved. I don't know if you guys saw that fight, but that ref called it off for some reason, and it went over 2.5. So that over 2.5 was crazy value because you never know what kind of shenanigans can happen, as you guys see in the cage these days. We got referees he might have had Ogden by submission. Who knows? Who
That
knows
that
what's
ref
going on in
that ref needed to go home after that fight.
Hey, after and it turns out after that fight, I don't think I saw him again after that fight. They probably sent him home. So we got some sketch refs going on. Gerard hit us with the over 1.5 for Paul Craig Brendan Allen. That was a great play too. I mean, there was a sweat for sure, but great play right there. And we also gave out another just like even money parlay, safe parlay. We had Talbot who kind of looked shaky in the beginning, but he turned out he's a way better athlete than that whoever Snickaguri is. Parkin to win. That was also a close fight, but I think Parkin still pulled it out. And obviously Morales again. So I mean, Morales was like pretty much our safety anchor throughout the night, and he turned out to be true. The only loss that we had was Uros Medic versus Orabai. Granted, I think that probably should not have been a unit play, maybe like half a unit. And that was also just a tough fight to catch because Orabai, not a lot of people knew about him. I was
Yeah,
actually on the Orabai side, but I thought it was, and that just goes for the future as well. For BetMMA tips, I'm not gonna put in things that are like considered good value, right? We just want considered locks. That probably should have been replaced by Brito because I remember that Gerard and Alex both were on the Brito side, and in theory, in practice, also going forward, they should have overruled me, and we should have Brito over there instead of Medic, who we all probably did not feel as confident about as you guys did about Brito, right? So that's something that we'll go in the future and refine for the Bet MMA tips and just give you guys constant locks. Because I'm telling you guys right now for the Bet MMA tips, we strive for a 0% loss on all those picks. Like we want
zero
all of those exactly. We want an
donut.
O for those exactly. We want all wins, and that's why we're going to give you guys those plays. But man, honestly, just follow what Alex is doing. This guy just follow the Alex Fund. He's been hitting banger after banger in these last few cards. So yeah, just great night overall. But other than that, let's move forward now because I mean I think that that's the beauty of this game is that there's always another fight around the corner. This one's going to be a little bit of a break just because I think there's they probably have like a little Thanksgiving gap just so people can kind of spend time with their families and whatnot. But on December 2nd, we're gonna have Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan fight night in Austin, Texas. I think that fight card's gonna be a banger overall. I will say for some of the viewers, I personally I broke down all these fights already. Alex has as well. I think this is going to be a potentially trickier card than last week. We have some very tricky kind of elements and kind of matchups here, and also just for not a lot of people know this, but I want to give this nugget as well. I mean, some of the scorecards and judging in Austin and Texas in general have been a little sketch. So just wanted to kind of tell you guys about that. We've seen some sketch scorecards before, so this might be another case for this fight night. But I digress. Let's move on to fight night. Dariush versus Tsarukyan. The first fight that we have on that card is going to be Jamey-Lyn Horth versus Veronica Hardy. Very interesting fight to start off the card. I mean, it's going to be a women's MMA fight. Jamey-Lyn Horth, 6-0, 5-0 in her last five. She's coming off that decision victory over Haley Cowan. She is fighting against Veronica Hardy, or I think she's like married to Dan Hardy, right? She's 7-4-1. She is coming off that win against Juliana Miller. Um, Veronica Hardy will be the younger fighter here, but she will be the smaller fighter as well. The odds for this fight right now very intriguing, actually. So Jamey-Lyn Horth opened up at minus 175. She's since been bet to minus 126. So people are already taking the Veronica Hardy side, right? I'll let Alex go ahead and start off with this, just so we can kind of get a little nice breakdown, and then I'll finish with my thoughts after. Alex, what do you think about this card fight to start off the card here?
So I'm actually personally very surprised how close the odds are. I think the simp money might have come in because I like
That's
Jamie
good.
Lynn here. I like Jamie Lynn here a lot more in this fight.
Yeah.
She's going to be the much bigger fighter. We'll note that Jamie's last fight she fought at bantamweight, so she's moving down a weight class. But in the LFA, she fought at flyweight a bunch, so it's not going to be like a new weight class for her. Um, I just think Jamie has all of the finishing upside here. Um, I in terms of a bet, I'm looking to once a prop drops, I really like the Jamey-Lyn inside the distance, no action line. Um, I think the only scenario I see for Hardy winning is if she out volumes Jamey-Lyn across 3 rounds. But I don't see any finishing potential for Veronica Hardy. With that said, I do have a money line bet on Jamey-Lyn right now. Like for me personally, just because I see Jamey-Lyn winning this fight. So yeah.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, this is the odds were kind of surprising to me too. I mean, Jamie Lynn obviously opened up at minus 175. We saw people kind of bet that down throughout the last few weeks. Now it's almost kind of near a pick 'em, right? I mean, matchup wise, Hardy, I think she's a quick, bouncy striker. She has decent technique. I don't think she has much power, but she will catch you with some clean, quick kind of shots. She does have good footwork, can move around the cage pretty well. She actually came off from a 3-year layoff in her last fight and defied the odds, right? I think, man, she was like if I'm not mistaken, she was like a big dog against Juliana Miller. And she defied the odds, won that fight. She actually mixed in some takedowns and grappling and showed improvement in that area. So that's one of the wild cards that we have when people come off of a long layoff. You don't know what they're going to look like, right? Have they improved their skills? Have they, kind of improved anything within their game? She did show some improvement. I think that this fight's going to be much tougher though, just because her this opponent is not Juliana Miller. I think Juliana Miller is not that good. Jamey-Lyn Horth is totally different. I mean, she's a good striker, good pace, pressure. She also has power as well, I think, which is something that's going to really determine this fight. She does have an average kind of takedown defense, but she can get up well from her takedowns. And if she gets taken down, and she doesn't give up on the ground too, she mainly tries to sprawl and brawl to victory. She also has pretty good, I would say, just striking technique overall, right? I don't think that this is going to be a striking mismatch on the feet per se. Now, she did give up 4 minutes and 50 seconds of control time against Haley Cow in her last fight. And in Veronica Hardy's last fight against Juliana Miller, she had 7 minutes and 36 seconds of control time. So if Hardy is able to come in and land some takedowns and control, I think that she does have a potential path to victory there because I think on the feet, it'll be, I wouldn't say it's 50-50. I would probably say Horth is probably like 65-35 on the feet. I still will favor Horth on the feet, but if Hardy comes in and shows some kind of grappling skills and can control her, I think it's going to be a tough ask because she is going to be the smaller girl in this matchup. But if she does have that grappling advantage over Horth, I could see this potentially being a close decision at the end if she's able to do that. Right now, I'll probably lean Horth still, like Horth by decision. I think that inside distance decision no action play is actually pretty good when it drops. I think it's like a Bet Online exclusive, which is one of our affiliates. So when that kind of prop drops, definitely take a look at it because I think the finishing ability and the finishing equity will be on Horth's side. But I still will lean Horth by decision. I would potentially look at the over 2.5 when it drops for a potential parlay piece for me, just because I just love to attack these women's MMA's overs. Um, but yeah, pick for me right now is I do side with Alex, probably Horth by decision, and that's where I'm going to play. Do you think Horth is a potential parlay piece for you at all, or what do you think about that?
Um, I think because it is like a pick 'em, I would more so like be inclined to just do a straight bet.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I don't think I would add her into parlays. Especially because she opened at minus 170 and then got bet down. So maybe someone smarter knows something. But yeah, I see Jamey-Lyn winning here. So probably just a straight bet.
for sure, for sure. Awesome. Well, let's move on to the next fight. We have 13 fights on this card, so a lot of action to break down, a lot of action to analyze. Next fight on the card is going to be Wellington Turman versus Jared Gooden. This is going to be the fight in the welterweight division here. Wellington Turman, he is 18-7. He is 2-3 in his last five. He's coming off a decision loss to Randy Brown. He's fighting against Jared Gooden, 22-9. He is coming off that decision loss on short notice to Carlson Harris. Wellington's going to be a slightly younger fighter, and as far as their reach, Gooden does have a 5-inch reach advantage there. For the fight odds right now, I believe that Wellington Turman is a minus 225 right now, and he opened up at a minus 145. I mean, this fight is also a bit interesting to me. I mean, I personally don't think that either of these guys are that much of a UFC caliber kind of fighter. They're kind of your run of the mill 170ers. Um, Turman is a decent grappler. He mainly looks to hunt for the sub on the ground. 44% of his wins are by sub, so this guy does try to win by sub a lot. He's also improving as a striker, but I just feel like he's hit that ceiling of being like a below average level striker for UFC standards. We saw that in his last fight against Randy Brown. I mean, it was he lost 29-28, but still like I just didn't see it with him. I think that Randy Brown was even out grappling him at times, and he was definitely out striking him. So even though Turman fights out of the Glover Teixeira fight camp, right, where he gets championship level training with Alex Pereira, with Glover Teixeira, both championship level guys in grappling and striking, I just feel like he's hit a certain ceiling. When the fight does go to the scorecards for him, I feel like he's a 50-50 kind of fighter in these fights. He has 6 decision wins, 5 decision losses. 71% of his losses are by decision. So you can already see by the numbers and also just by the eye test sometimes watching him, I don't think he has a good style for the scorecards. Judges don't seem to like his style. Gooden is an explosive striker, powerful, has speed, quickness. I think that he is a UFC level athlete. He pumps out decent volume, but his striking ratio suggests that he just lacks technique and fight IQ to have long term success in the UFC. I think this is his like second stint in the UFC. His first stint did not go well. He already is starting a second stint with a loss to Carlson Harris after getting taken down multiple times in that fight. Going back to that negative striking differential, he lands 4.73 strikes per 15 minutes. He absorbs 7.76. So he gets hit more than he hits people. That's the basic kind of idea of it. Now, I think that he was on a short notice fight against Carlson Harris last fight, taking down 5 times. I think that Harris is not a good takedown artist himself. He has a 29% takedown accuracy. Turman's even worse though at 19%. This fight is pretty tricky. I'm probably going to stay away from this fight, to be honest. I think that the odds might be a little wide, honestly. Like Wellington Turman at minus 225, that's a little wide for my taste. The pick is going to be Wellington Turman by decision. I think he might just wet blanket this guy, maybe go for the sub, but I'm passing on this fight. Alex, what do you think about this fight between Turman and Gooden here?
Yeah, so I feel like Turman is gonna win, but like Turman just seems like very low IQ to me.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like in his last fight against Randy Brown, he should have won that fight. Like he just kept chopping on the legs. But instead he got into a clinch and grapple fight against Randy, and they were just like against the cage. Turman was just held against the cage for like 2 rounds. So yeah, I don't like Turman's like low IQ. And then like for Gooden, um, his hands are super low when he fights. He showed up 7 pounds overweight in his last fight, which is crazy. I don't know how that fight was still going up, got approved, or Carlson Harris. I don't know why he accepted that fight, but I like this fight. I just see like a lot of stupid shit happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, uh, I feel like it's Turman should win, but like I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't like betting Turman at that big of a favorite. Um, and Gooden also has a 5-inch reach advantage, so I mean that's something. But yeah, same here. Probably gonna stay away. Not liking this fight at all.
Yeah, this is a big time shenanigan kind of fight here, so I'm intrigued to see what happens. Who knows? I think that anytime these fights kind of happen, maybe if you just if you want to play some action, just go with the dog. Why not? Because I mean, I think there's something stupid's going to happen too, right? So I think something crazy is about to happen, and we shall see. Next fight that we have here is going to be Ihor Potieria versus Rodolfo Bellato. This is going to be a light heavyweight fight. Now, this fight, I mean, Ihor, he's 20-4. He's 3-2. He's coming off 3-2 his last five. He's coming off that loss against Carlos Ober where he just got knocked out. He's fighting against Rodolfo Bellato, 11-2. He's 4-1 his last five. He's coming off that KO victory on the Contender Series. Same age as far as their reach. Bellato's going to have a slight reach advantage here. Odds for this fight right now. Um, Bellato is actually minus 450. He opened up at a minus 300. So pretty heavy, intense line movement there and line opening as well. Alex, I'll let you kick off the breakdown of this fight. What do you think about this light heavyweight fight right here?
Yeah, so for this fight, I actually capped this fight last week, even before the Saturday Fight Night card, and I put a two-leg parlay of Michael Morales and Bellato.
Mm,
At the time I put it, Bellato was minus 400, so now it's minus 450.
yep.
But now I personally think Ihor sucks. Um, like he keeps his hands super low. He doesn't throw out a ton of volume, and it doesn't look like his shots have any power. He kind of just relies on timing of his straight left. So he'll kind of just hop around in his karate stance and kind of time that straight left down the pipe. He does have 7 submission wins, but he has no dynamic takedown ability at all. Um, so I think Bellato is probably going to get the knockout here. He's just a more dangerous fighter everywhere, and he'll throw much harder, and he'll just be able to stuff any takedowns that come his way, just because he's so much bigger. So yeah, I got Bellato here, but I mean at minus 450, I don't know if that's a play.
Right, right. Yeah, it is getting a bit wide. I agree with you there. I mean, Bellato, classic power striker who likes to grapple, right? Uses power shots and pressure on the feet to set up his takedowns, grappling exchanges. He's actually pretty comfortable in these powerful exchanges and brawling. So even if he's not able to get the takedowns, I think that he's more than capable and also more than willing to go into these striking exchanges. His takedowns aren't that great, but when he does get them, he has pretty good control and can chase subs in dominant positions. I think this is going to be also an issue for Ihor. I mean, Ihor, so far in the UFC, he showed some solid striking and accuracy. You mentioned that left hand. He has decent speed and quicks are somewhat kind of quick. Strikes are somewhat kind of quick for 205er. But I think the one reservation about him so far in the UFC, at least, is that he likes to brawl way too much and relies on his chin. I mean, he either gets KO'd or KOs people. I mean, but granted, the only KO that he's had so far in the UFC is knocking out a more than past his prime, Shogun Rua, right? So maybe that's not even the best indicator of this guy even KOing people. But usually how his fights goes is just really wild brawls where either person will get KO'd. He does have 7 sub wins, like you mentioned, and they're all in the first round, though. Most likely, those are all cans, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Those are some really not that great subs. He has shown little to no grappling motivation in the UFC so far. Takedown defense is 33% as well, so he can get taken down himself. I do agree with you. I think Rodolfo is probably better everywhere here. Fun fact though, Rodolfo, his only 2 losses in his career are both to Vitor Petrino by knockout. He got knocked out before the UFC, and then he got knocked out in the Contender Series. So even though he that's not a bad guy getting knocked out by, right? I mean, Vitor Petrino is a beast. So yeah, I think Rodolfo should win by KO here. Should have Ihor covered everywhere. However, if this does turn into a 50-50 fight and it's going to be a brawl, you never know because these hands can fly really quick and powerful. It's a 205 fight, could turn into a 50-50 fight real quick. I'll probably just pass on it. Like you mentioned, me minus 450 right now. I think I'm good on that. I think that's a probably too wide of a line right there. So I might wait until it gets a little lower, then maybe hop on with a parlay piece there. But right now, the pick is Rodolfo by KO for me. Let's move on to the next fight here. I believe that we have Steve Garcia versus Mel Costa. Steve Garcia, Mean Machine, 14-5. He is 3-2 in his last five, coming off of that KO victory over Nornbeke. He is facing off against Melk Costa, 20-6. He's 3-2 in his last five, coming off of a decision, pretty dominant decision win over Austin Lingo. Melk's going to be a younger fighter here by 4 years. They both have pretty much the same reach and similar height. Odds for this fight right now. Mel Costa, he opened up at as a minus 110. So this opened up at a pick 'em. And throughout the last, I would say, week or so, he's been bet to minus 221. So people are already kind of hammering the Melk side. That's a really interesting line movement right there. Um, Garcia, he's a brawling kind of boxer, right? On the feet, he likes to push forward and kind of pressure with his boxing, pumps out some decent volume. He actually has a positive striking differential for the way he fights. I mean, he lands 4.85 strikes per 15 minutes. He also absorbs 2.61. So pretty good striking differential there. On the ground, he does like to kind of more so sprawl and brawl his opponents. But if he comes across an opponent like that Charlie, I forgot how to say his last name, but Charlie Q, that guy who's kind of like hand in a way. He landed some takedowns against Charlie and kind of ground and pounded his way to a victory there. Um, I think that Garcia is actually like the kind of fighter that you want to ride if he's a dog, right? Because he is a dog that will fight for your money, as seen in the last fight against Nornbeke. He got dropped, and easily the fight could have ended, but he came back, continued to fight, and got the knockout win himself. Now, this doesn't always work. We see that this brawling style, this kind of dog style, it can lead him to getting finished like he did with Maasate. Like Maasate's landed a really clean, straight shot. Steve Garcia just face planted. So it can work out sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't work out. So he is, I think, a definition of a kind of 50-50 fighter in a way. I think Melk is very well rounded. He has good skills on the feet and the ground, powerful hands, good technique, good movement. He has good countering abilities as well for people that want to come forward. So I think that's going to play a huge part in this fight. Also comes from shoot box, so his skills are going to be pretty dynamic in the ring or in the cage. He also has good takedowns and the sub threat. So I mean, overall, I think that he's just a really well-rounded fighter, and also good cardio as well. Right now, my pick is probably Costa inside the distance. I think that he's probably going to wait for Steve to come to him and then probably try to knock him out, maybe get a club and sub, something like that. But I'll probably just pass on this fight for now because I could see Steve being a live underdog, and it could be scary going against him because he's going to be continue to just come forward against Costa and could land a good shot on Costa. And this could turn to a 50-50 fight. So pick for me right now is Costa, but I could definitely be swayed by a number of things, maybe like a weigh-ins or face-offs, just seeing how these two look up and close together. Alex, what do you think about this fight between Garcia and Costa here?
Yeah, so I guess when I was watching it, right, first thing I noticed was that Steve Garcia is a super hittable fighter. He has like a very hunched over fighting stance, where he kind of leaves his head vulnerable, hanging out in the front. But as you mentioned, like he's the type of fighter that's going to bring forth, like a relentless pace and pressure. He's definitely going to be the one that's, moving forward constantly. Um, then Costa, on the other hand, he's a very dynamic striker. He very great kicks. Um, he's also very great on the mat as well. Um, so like I can see I think like same as you, I can see like both fighters winning. I think, Costa is more likely to win just because Garcia is way more hittable. Um, like I have a feeling Costa is going to win by submission actually, just because Garcia, comes forward like so much. Um, but as hittable as Garcia is, um, he does like to move forward, with that pace and pressure. I can see a scenario where, Garcia grinds out a victory. Um, these two are going to be in the pocket, like engaging so much that Costa's, it might, um, nullify Costa's, kicking game because, Costa likes to kind of kick from range. Whereas, if Garcia's, bring that pace and pressure, it's gonna be like a brawl, in the pocket. So I think Costa's gonna win by sub, but same as you, I'm staying away from this one because I can see Garcia being a live dog for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think we share pretty similar thoughts in this fight. So maybe it's a fight where we can just enjoy, maybe take some notes for the future, right? Because just remember, peer pickers, everybody, not every fight is a money making opportunity, right? Some fights are more so a stay away and a money saving opportunity. So save some units, go for the next one, take some notes for the future from when these guys fight again. That's the whole thing we do here. Next fight that we have, we're still on the prelims. It's going to be Joe Solecki versus Drakkar Klose. This is going to be, I think, a pretty underrated kind of fight, especially on the prelims. Joe Solecki, 13-3, 4-1 his last five. He is coming off that submission victory over Carl Deaton III with a rear naked choke. His fight against Drakkar Klose, 13-2-1, coming off that decision victory over Rafa Garcia. Drakkar is going to be the older fighter here at 35 compared to 30 years old for Joe. They both actually have the same measurables for height and reach, so interesting thoughts there. Um, Odds for this fight right now, it's pretty close. So Drakkar Klose, he actually opened up at a plus 150, and he is now bet to a minus 141. So we had like an instant line movement where he was opened up as a dog, and then he's now bet to a favorite. So really intrigued there, intriguing kind of movement there from the bookies and the bettors, seeing how they kind of cap this fight. Alex, I'll let you go ahead and start off this breakdown. What do you think about this fight between Joe Solecki and Drakkar Klose here?
Yeah, so for this fight, I watched Joe's tape first, and I was like, you know, all right, this is looking like an easy fade. But then I watch then I watched Drakkar's tape, and this guy looks weak as fuck too. So I mean, I think Joe really only has one game plan whenever he comes into a fight, and it is to get the fight down to the mat. Um, Joe has a super bulky frame, stocky, so it's kind of meant for wrestling. Um, But I think this fight comes down to one question: Can Joe Solecki take down Drakkar? And if he can, I think Joe will win. Um, but Joe's striking is just so like abysmal. He has on Tapology, he has a loss to Nicholas Mata, um, and that's the guy who was getting picked apart by Trey Ogden. Uh, so I mean, I So one thing I wrote down was like, I wonder what the over is going to open up as, because yeah, Drakkar's never been subbed, and Joe's like a wrestler, so I feel like the over might have some good value, but depending on what it opens up as. So uh, I'm gonna monitor that line, see when it opens, and definitely depending on the odds might put a play there.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I share somewhat similar thoughts to you on this fight. I mean, Joe, good grappler, pretty slick on the ground for subs. You saw that in his last fight against Carl Deaton. He likes to use his wrestling to get the fight on the ground and control the fight from there, either by control or just subbing people on the feet. Mainly a boxer, but does not have the best hands and kind of overall weak in general as far as a stand up. This is going to be interesting because Drakkar, he actually has a wrestling background. I mean, he's learned to strike throughout his MMA career, but he came in as a wrestler first. He has developed some decent hands with boxing technique, has mainly won decisions based off of this skill set. I think that when I do watch him, though, he's more of a offensive grappler to defensive because if you saw that last fight against Rafa Garcia, he was taken down at times, right? Like he and Rafa Garcia, I don't know if that's like the best wrestler out there. So it could be somewhat concerning in this fight because I think Joe Solecki does have some good takedowns. Um, but like you also mentioned, Drakkar has no sub wins or losses in his career, so he's probably not going to get subbed here in this fight. I think that Drakkar just overall seems to have more paths to victory for me because every fight starts off standing, right? So it's going to be up to Joe to get the takedowns, like you mentioned. I think another interesting point here is that this is going to be a fight night card. Usually, those are going to be in the apex where it's a smaller cage, right? So with that smaller cage, most of the time, I think the grapplers have more of an advantage just because the strikers have less room to kind of move around and kind of
I,
prevent those takedowns, right?
I think since it's in Austin, it's gonna be the bigger
Yeah,
cage.
that's what I'm thinking too. So it might be a bigger cage. So that's how I'm actually leaning towards Drakkar by decision. I think that he'll be able to move around enough and kind of box his way and sprawl and brawl his way to a decision victory. I'm also interested to see what the lines look like for the over 2.5. I think that's what probably what's going to open up as. But right now, I would say Drakkar by decision. Honestly, I probably would look at his money line play if it was a little better, but right now he's minus 141. Maybe it was like closer to pick him. I'll probably, hop on that. But yeah, I'll take Drakkar by decision. I'll see when the prop kind of drops for that because I do think that he's better on the feet than Joe here. And I think we're going to kind of see that on Saturday. So we'll see what happens on that front. Next fight that we have on the card here, we have Cody Brundage, everybody's favorite fighter, versus Zach Reese. But before we get started on this breakdown, you want to share your Cody Brundage play on against Jacob Malkoun for the last
Yeah.
time
Oh
fight?
my God, I forgot about that. Man, it's a crazy one too. Like crazy plus rocket ship odds was Cody Brundage to win by KO in the first
Oh,
round. And this guy won because the other guy got DQ'd for hitting him in the back of the head, man.
yeah.
That shit was stupid, dude. Like, bro, like that was crazy. I can't believe I won.
What are the odds for that? You remember? You remember the odds for that?
I don't remember the odds, but it was something crazy, man. Like,
Bro.
because I thought it was gonna be a no contest, but
Yeah.
then he lifted Brundage's hands up, and I was like, what the fuck?
I know.
But yeah,
Those are some crazy odds sometimes when you get those plays. I think that was a round one play too, right? You had that like
yeah,
round
yeah.
one, yeah.
Round
So
one KO.
yeah,
Yeah,
for some of those like kind of props, it says KO, TKO, like, and that actually counts as if someone gets disqualified, right? So
yeah.
yeah, good play all around.
Nah, it was
So
definitely a bad play.
yeah.
Definitely, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a bad play, but still, you got the cash because you got the luck of the draw there.
yeah.
So Cody Brundage, he's 9-5 right now. He's 2-3 in his last five. He's coming off of that once again illegal kind of elbow to the back of the head disqualification win as you will. He's fighting against Zach Reese, 6-0. He's 5-0 in his last five. He's coming off that armbar submission victory on the Contender Series about 2 months or so ago. They're both the same age. Zach is going to be the taller guy here, and he has a 5-inch reach advantage. So he's going to be the bigger fighter in this case. For the odds right now, Zach opened up at a plus 135. And once everybody saw that, everybody instantly bet this guy to a minus 280. It's kind of been kind of tiptoeing around there in that range for the last couple of weeks. He's now at minus 260. So everybody's on the fade Cody Brundage train right now. I mean, I understand why. Cody, he does have some heavy hands, good wrestling. He actually has some skills to succeed in the UFC. But if you actually watch some of his fights, right, the last few fights in particular, this guy has some horrible fight IQ. I feel like he does have any fight IQ at all at times. My last straw with him, I wasn't betting on him, but I was betting against him, was his decision making versus SD Dumas. I mean, he was grappling SD Dumas, right? He's actually winning the fight. Then all of a sudden, this guy started pulling guillotines and just like losing dominant positions, and then losing a decision victory to SD Dumas. So that was just a bad one. Um, he also, if you look at his other fights too, he has moments of having the upper hand, right? Against Rodolfo Vieira, against Mikhail Olajeju. But in those fights as well, instantly got reversed against Mikhail, then ground pounded to death. Rodolfo, he actually dropped Rodolfo in that fight and then turned out losing to a sub, right? So whatever this guy is thinking, it's just not the right way to win an MMA fight, as you guys have seen. So just not a good fight IQ. Honestly, in his last fight, he probably was on the verge of getting cut, but then he came off with a gifted win in that last fight. Um, I think this is probably time. I think that the UFC is trying to set up the Zach Reese guy. He's a pretty big frame for the middleweight division, 77-inch reach, 6'4", throws with pretty much, I think, a good amount of power as well. He also always looks to finish the fight. I think out of his 6 wins, all of them are finishes. So he's going to be looking to finish Cody Brundage here. He also can finish him on the feet with 4 knockouts already, and he also has good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills on the ground. He has 2 sub wins, and the last one that he had was actually an armbar. So I think potentially, Cody might be the more just skilled kind of fighter with more UFC experience, right? But we've just seen this guy fail over and over again, and I feel like the UFC is going to probably cut him after this fight against a guy like Zach Reese, especially with the kind of DQ win, right? That's just does not bode well for your record going forward. So give me Zach Reese. I'm probably going to put Zach Reese as a parlay piece. Honestly, I think he's going to be win inside the distance, either sub him or kind of KO him. Alex, what do you think about this fight between Cody Brundage and Zach Reese here?
So I'm fading Cody Brundage, man. I don't even care who the opponent is. I think Brundage is a max fade, man. Like, man, Cody's going to gas out. He's gonna curl up like an armadillo, and he's just gonna lose the fight. Like,
Man.
I don't care who the opponent is. I'm betting that guy, man. So, yeah, give me Zach Reese. But I'm gonna put him in
Yeah,
parlay too.
exactly, bro. That's bro. All I saw was like, oh shit, this guy's 6'4", 77-inch reach. It's over. It's over, bro. And
Oh,
undefeated as well. It's over. All right, let's move on to the next fight. And also, by the way, guys, just me personally as well. I think Alex might have similar thoughts, but I always find it easier to have a money making opportunity by fading a fighter rather than riding them, right? Because a lot can go wrong with riding a fighter. You can kind of come up with a better opponent at times by fading some of these guys that we've seen have been proven losers in their career. It's just a better money making opportunity, and also safer as well. So yeah, I always like to fade fighters when I see them because you can't fade them after they get cut. So this might be the last opportunity we have to fade a guy like Cody Brundage, honestly. Next fight that we have right here, we're still in the prelims. It's going to be Miesha Tate versus Julia Avila. This is going to be the women's bantamweight division at 135. Miesha Tate, 19-9. She is 1-4 in her last five, coming off that decision loss against Lauren Murphy, which is almost a year and a half ago. That's pretty crazy. She is fighting against Julia Avila, 9-2. She's 4-1 in her last five. She's coming off that a submission win, which was 2 years ago. So both these ladies have not been the most active fighters. Both of them are kind of over that 35 age, so not that active, slightly older. Julia will be the bigger fighter here. Has also a reach advantage. Odds for this fight right now, Julia Villa is minus 155, and she opened up at a minus 250. So people have been taking the dog odds on the former champion, Miesha Tate. Alex, I'll let you kick it off to you as far as this fight. What do you think about this fight between Tate and Avila here?
So I'm taking Avila here. Miesha just looked so bad in her last fight against Lauren Murphy. I don't think she has any finishing equity, in this matchup. All she really does is, throw out a very weak left jab. Um,
Mm.
and then she'll go in for like the occasional like clinch and grapple. Um, and then when she's, grappling, she doesn't have like that dynamic judo throwing capability. So, she's not even able to get the fight down to the mat. So, really just a fade play here for me personally. I think, yeah, Avila, in her last fight, she looked like, really dangerous. She looked pretty good. I know it's been over 2 years, so I mean, there's, that question mark, but like I know, like I've seen Miesha Tate, especially her last fight, it didn't look good. So, I'm taking Avila here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Tate, former champion, she does have a championship kind of skill set. I think she's a good wrestler, good grappler, technical striking as well on the feet. She came back from a 5 year layoff in 2021, has gone 1-2 since, right? That one victory, though, people need to know this, was against this fighter named Marion Renault, who was 9 years older than Miesha Tate. So Miesha Tate, just to tell you guys right now, she's 37. So she fought someone who was 9 years older than her in 2021. So I don't know about all that. So I mean, she does seem to be slowing down. She looked really slow against Lauren Murphy, man. Not a good sign. Um, Maybe it was because she was fighting at 125. Maybe that's not the weight division for her, right? She looked really slow at 125. Maybe at 135 she'll look a little faster. But I kind of doubt it though. I mean, a 5 year layoff is really it's a really big gap, and usually you don't come back the same after that. Avila, she's also coming off a 2 year layoff, kind of a layoff herself. That was also due to a combination of, I believe she had like an injury she was tending to, and also she had like a kid, so she was kind of having a family there. Uh, there's a lot of variables in this fight just because of these two inactive fighters, if you will. Avila, she does like the brawl, heavy shots, has a jiu-jitsu black belt, but she can get in the slugfest. She'll sometimes prefer that. Um, I will probably say Avila by decision. However, the line that I want to hit is going to be the over 2.5. When that drops, sign me up for a parlay piece for that, because I think that I'm going to stuff that into my parlays. I don't know what the odds are going to look like, but I feel like both these ladies would survive to a decision. And most of the time for these over 2.5, especially in women's MMA, they have been cashing more often than not. So I'll be on the lookout for that, and we'll see what the odds are when they drop. Next fight that we have here, I think we're still on the prelims. So we have Clay Guida versus Joaquim Silva. This is going to be a fight in the lightweight division here. Clay Guida, the Carpenter, obviously UFC veteran, 38 and 23. That's a hell of a lot of fights right there. He is 2-3 in his last five, coming off that decision loss against Rafa Garcia. He's 41 years old, turning 42 in a couple weeks. Fighting against Joaquim Noah Silva, 13, 12 and 4. He is 2-3 in his last five, coming off that KO loss to Arman Tsarukyan. I think he was on short notice. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that was on short notice. He's going to be the younger fighter here at 34 years old. He's also going to be, I think they have like kind of same dimensions as far as their reach and height. Um, Odds right now for this fight right here, Silva opened up at a minus 225, and he's been since bet to minus 300. So the fading of Clay Guida is well underway right now. Guida, I mean, all the wrestling cardio, right? That's literally his game plan A, B, and C. Although he's pretty much turning 42, I haven't really seen a slowdown in regards to the cardio and then the committing to that game plan, right? More so where he has slowed down is like his hand speed, just speed in general, his power in the cage is kind of slowing down. Silva has a good jujitsu kind of skill set, black belt. I would say though that he's more of an opportunistic grappler because he doesn't really aggressively hunt subs. He more so likes to brawl and fight with power, as you guys seen with that last fight against Arman Tsarukyan. He did have Arman in some tough situations in that fight, although he ended up just losing by via knockdown. Um, I think that this fight is just going to come down to potentially fading Clay Guida here. I just feel like he's slowing down a little too much, and he might be on his way out in the UFC. I mean, that last loss against Rafa Garcia, although Rafa was, much younger than him, I just think that that was kind of, showing that his end is near. He also, by the way, and this is something that people need to know, he lost against this guy named Claudio Poyas. This guy is if you guys see this guy fight against Dan Hooker, you guys know that this guy is just a like jujitsu nerd, and he just goes for leg locks. So losing against a guy like that, it's not a good sign in my opinion. So give me Silver here, probably Silver by decision. Honestly, I might just put Silva in my parlays as well. I mean, I think minus 300 is okay. If he gets over that, maybe not. But yeah, give me Silva by decision and potential parlay piece for me. Alex, what do you think about this fight between Clay Guida and Silva here?
Um, so I personally like or I'm curious what the over is going to open up
Mhm.
as. Um, I might think about putting money on the over, just because, Guida's only been knocked out twice in his career, both in the third round. Um, and Silva has no submission game. Like he has no submission victories. And on the other side, Guida is not knocking out. I doubt he's going to knock out
Mhm.
Silva. Although, I say that, but this guy got knocked out in the first round by Ricky Glenn. So yeah, I mean, I'd be more comfortable slamming Silva if I knew he had like a chin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he did get knocked out again, by Ricky Glenn. But I think I'm more interested in the over for this fight. But we'll see what the odds open up as.
Yeah, that could potentially be a good parlay piece. Now that you say that, because yeah, I don't see a finish. I do see a decision probably going to the scorecards here for sure. All right, let's move on to the next fight here. I think we are on the main card, so making great time right now. We have Khalil Rountree Jr. versus Azamat Murzakanov. This is going to be a banger for as long as it lasts. Uh, Khalil Rountree, 12-5. He is 4-1 his last five, coming off of that decisive KO victory over Chris Daukaus. He's fighting against Azamat Murzakanov, 13-0, coming off that decision victory over Dustin Jacoby, both around the same age. Khalil Rountree is going to be the bigger fighter here with a longer reach as well. Odds for this fight right now, we have Azamat at a minus 194. He opened up at a minus 275. At one point, he was also a plus 130 underdog. So some wild line movement right now, right? So this might be a highly volatile fight here. Alex, I'll let you break down this light heavyweight fight right here. What do you think about Roundtree versus Mirzakhanov here?
So when I broke down like these two fighters, like right away, I just noticed that both these guys tend to gas out and fade towards the later rounds. Um, in my eyes, I feel like Roundtree's the scarier guy in the first round. I just think he throws, harder, like looping shots. But, part of me just wants to go with the Russian,
Mhm.
when in doubt, go Russia. But like I don't know if this guy's chin has been tested yet, is the thing. Like Azamat hasn't fought like a Roundtree type fighter.
Right.
Um and Roundtree has that 5-inch reach advantage. So I mean that's something too. He'll probably hit harder in the pocket. So I mean this is a fight that I'm not that comfortable in. Maybe looking at the over and hedging with the Roundtree first round KO. I don't know.
Mhm.
Like what I'll need to assess, probably like look at a bit more tape. But as of right now, no play. I don't know who's gonna win.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a pretty volatile fight, and that's what the odds and the line movement has kind of showed, right? Like, doesn't matter. He opened up at a minus 275, and he was all the way to a dog at plus 130. Now he's at minus 194. So who knows what direction this fight's going to go. Rountree, he's the classic all hammer, no nail kind of fighter, right? I feel like he is live to KO anybody that he's facing, as long as he's the one who is kind of dictating the style and the pace of the fight, right? When he's not dictating the style, he can get himself KO'd really easily. For example, if you guys saw his fight against Johnny Walker, Johnny Walker just like clinched him up and just like Muay Thai elbowed this guy and KO'd him really quick. So like that was an example of him just being a pretty bad nail. But he has many examples of him being a pretty good hammer. The thing that I like about Roundtree is that he does come forward, bully with his power Muay Thai kind of shots, devastating body kicks when his opponents are hurt on the ground. Those are just satisfying to watch sometimes because a lot of people don't do that. And I like he does do that because it kind of separates him, kind of shows some good fight IQ, in my opinion, of doing that when their opponent's on the ground. Just kick them straight to the body with his devastating kicks. Uh, he does have zero takedowns in, I think, all of his UFC fights. So he's not really a grappler per se. Decent takedown defense, but not the best. As a mat right now is going to be the quicker, I believe more. He also has devastating power as well, but he is going to be a bit undersized here at 205. He does overcome this with his movement and technique and whatnot. He also has a knockdown all of his UFC fights so far. So I also agree with you that he he hasn't fought someone like a Khalil Rountree with that power, right? And if we are doing MMA math, I mean, Khalil Rountree had a close split decision victory over Dustin Jacoby, and I believe that Azamat won like a 29-28 over Dustin Jacoby there. So this might be a closer fight than people probably think. I think the odds might be a little wide right now, to be honest. Just because of that, I'm going with Roundtree by KO or decision. I think that he's pretty live as a dog. I'm leaning towards KO right now. Azmat does have a path to victory if he uses his wrestling because he does have a wrestling background skill set. I think he landed a takedown Justin Jacoby in his last fight, but he rarely does use the wrestling. And a lot of people forget that Azamat, if you guys watch his fight against Stefan Chukwi, he was losing that fight. He was losing that fight. Then he came out with a highlight like knee KO. So this guy easily could have lost that fight. Had been like or 12-1 right now. And he's facing, I think, the most dangerous guy that he's about to face in the UFC so far. So I'm going with Roundtree as a live dog here. I want to see the face off, see how they look. But right now, my pick is Roundtree. Potential good dog play right now, in my opinion. Let's move on to the next fight here that we have. We're also still on the main card. We have Punahele Soriano versus Dustin Stolfus. Very interesting fight. These guys are on the main card, so I'm kind of surprised by that, honestly. Punahele Soriano, 9-3. He is 2-3 in his last five. He's coming off of that KO loss against Roman Kopylov, who's the Kopylok, as I like to call him. He is fighting against Dustin Slofkis, 14-5, 1-4 in his last five, coming off of that very quick KO loss where he got front kicked and kind of just knocked out by Abu Magomedov there. Both around the same age. I think their measurables are about the same. Dustin does have a slight reach advantage there. As far as the odds for this fight right now, I believe that Punahele is minus 250 and he opened up at a minus 325. So people are taking the dog action on Dustin Solskis here. Puna, he has great power in his hands. He also has like a Division 3 wrestling, so not D1, but he does have some wrestling credentials as well. But if you guys just follow this guy's career, I mean, he doesn't have the best takedown defense. I believe he got taken down by Roman in his last fight, and Roman's like literally a kickboxer, so that's not a good sign. He's more of an offensive grappler. Going back to the takedown defense, he has a 30% takedown defense, so that's not what you want to see when you're a D3 wrestling guy, right? He does have great power, as like I mentioned, fighting against Dustin, who also has decent power. He has a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Uh, Dustin, if you do look at his record, I mean, yeah, he's 1-4 in his last five, but if you guys seen who he's lost to, I mean, these are some legitimate people. I mean, he lost to Abu, who's decent for one round. He won against Dwight Grant, who I'm not sure if that guy's in the UFC anymore. He lost to Gerald Mishard, who's pretty underrated for this level. Losing to Rodolfo Vieira by submission is not bad either, and then losing Kyle Dawkins is pretty bad. But I digress. You know, his strength of schedule has been pretty high for someone of his level. Um, I think overall Puna should win this fight, but this guy has questionable fight IQ himself, and he likes to brawl, go for finishes, KOs. I could easily see him getting countered here by Dustin on the feet or the ground, right? Like Dustin could potentially take this guy down and then maybe sub him or just lay on top of him. Um, so my pick actually is going to be Dustin, just because I think I'm going to fade Punahele. I think that he's just because of his style, he's like a fan favorite at times. But yeah, give me the dog odds on Dustin, either by sub or submission. I'm going to pass on this fight, though. I don't trust Dustin that much with potential units here. Uh, Alex, what do you think about this fight between Puna and Dustin here?
So for me, I'm actually the opposite. I like Soriano in this spot. Um, I think this guy Dustin might be a bum, man. Uh, I feel like Soriano has Dustin covered. Um, I feel like the only way Dustin can win is if he, wrestles and out cardios Soriano. Because Soriano does kind of gas out. Like you can tell he gets, pretty tired. Um, but Soriano fought Nick Maximov, who's a very heavy wrestler. Um, and I think Maximov is a much better wrestler than Dustin. Um, so I feel like Soriano's seen that look before. He'll be able to kind of get up if he does get taken down. And I just don't like the way Dustin fights at all. It's I don't think I personally don't think he's UFC caliber. So I have Soriano here. Probably I'll probably look to put him into my parlays.
Mm,
So yeah, give me a Soriano money line.
for sure. Awesome. Well, hopefully that works out. I mean, I think that, yeah, it could be a good odds for Puna just because Dustin is coming off some pretty not good losses to some not good UFC caliber people. That's for sure. So let's move on to the next fight. We have Sean Brady versus Kelvin Gastelum. This is going to be a much higher level of MMA compared to the next fight that we had. Kelvin Gastelum and Sean Brady, I think they're fighting at 170. So this is going to be Kelvin's, I think, one of his first fights at 170 in the UFC. Sean Brady, 15-1. He is 4-1 his last five, coming off of that uh, KO loss to Bilal Muhammad, where he got knocked out. He's fighting against Kelvin Gastelum, 18-8. He's 2-3 in his last five. Kelvin's coming off that decision victory over Chris Curtis. Both around the same age here. I think that their measurables are about the same as well, give or take 1 inch either way. Uh, Odds for this fight right now. So Sean Brady opened up at a minus 120, and it's been going up and down just a bit, though. He was a plus 100 at one point, but he's been bet back to minus 128. So not a lot of line movement from the opening line, if you will. Um, Alex, what do you think about this fight between Brady and Gastelum? I'll let you start off.
So this fight is pretty tough to call for me. Like I don't have a good read here. Um, like you said, Gastelum, he's moving down a weight class here to fight Sean Brady. So in the stand up, I definitely favor Gastelum. Um, I think he'll probably land the more damaging shots. But the question mark that I have is Gastelum's cardio. Um, like I just, he's kind of like a chunky guy. Um, but I do like the fact that Gastelum has a 62% takedown defense. Sean Brady, he's kind of like a wrestler, but Sean Brady doesn't have like crazy takedown abilities either.
Mhm.
I think I forgot the stat. I think it might just be like 50% or something.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, basically Brady just likes to to get his takedowns, he likes to level change. That's kind of like his bread and butter to get the takedown. But Gastelum is a chunky dude. It seems like a pretty hard guy to take down. As evidenced by his 62% takedown defense. So if it's on the feet, and I think Gastelum, and I favor Gastelum on the feet, I feel like I my my pick here is Gastelum, but I will say it is a kind of tough fight to call. But my pick is Gastelum.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Calvin, he has all the skills in the world in MMA cage to me. I mean, he has great wrestling with power, pretty fast hands as well. His best attribute, in my opinion, is his indestructible Mexican chin. I mean, it's made of granite. Just watching his fights, I mean, do your guys yourselves a favor and watch his fight against Izzy. He went toe to toe with a prime Izzy. Should have probably finished Izzy that fight, but he had Izzy hurt and for some reason he shot a takedown. So that was just a bad IQ moment for him. He probably should have won that fight if he didn't do that. I personally like that he's moving down to 170. I think that this is where he should have been his whole career. He just seems, to me, this is a sign of more of a dedication with the weight cut, right? Because at 185, I think, a lot of people saw it. I mean, this guy, he just does his body, like you mentioned, is chunky. He's kind of a little fat in a way, and he just didn't seem like he was dedicated to the weight cut, right, and not dedicated to the MMA game. So I think that this move down to 170 and training with Henry Cejudo as well at Fight Ready. I mean, I feel like he has everything in track to kind of get his career back on track to potentially being a championship level fighter because he did fight for the championship at 185. He's moving down at 170, so this guy has some skills. Although I don't like that he pulled out with an injury. It seemed to be a real injury, though. He was supposed to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. Maybe it was better that he didn't fight that because I think he probably would have got the L there. But yeah, I think that was a real injury. I think that was probably a good thing for his career in hindsight because he's probably going to end up with a loss in his 170 debut, and that's not how you want to start. He found in my opinion, perfect opponent for him to fight at 170. I mean, Sean Brady, this guy's just all grappling, right? Like if you watch his stand up, it's pretty weak. He does have some okay power, but just the technique of his boxing and kicks, I mean, this guy is just not that good of a striker. As seen with the Bilal Muhammad fight, he was KO'd by a guy that's nicknamed "Remember the Decision." Like that's not a good look at all. So
Remember the
I
name.
think, yeah, exactly. You get KO'd by Bilal Muhammad. I mean, that's just not good. Bilal is known for being a pillow-fisted fighter who lays on top of you for the lay and pray victory, and he got KO'd in the first round by this guy. Kelvin
Second,
Gastelum is going to have
second, I
second
think.
round. Okay, second round.
Yeah.
Yeah, second round. So Brady doesn't have that, like you mentioned, doesn't have a good gas tank. I think he seems to slow down in the fight as well as it goes on. I'm actually pretty confident in Kelvin here. And I think that this is going to be a good fight for him. I'll go Kelvin by decision, but he could potentially even knock this guy out because I think that he has so much good experience at 185 fighting some killers that fighting a guy like Sean Brady who's coming off an L, this is going to look like child's play for him in terms of the skill set of overall MMA. So give me Kelvin by decision. I would play him at his money line, to be honest, too. I feel like he's a good dog, especially with that granite chin. He's going to be a good dog play for me.
I
So, yeah.
I think you've convinced me.
Yes.
I think side here. Yeah, I'm going with Gastelum as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think
Get that bread. Get that bread. Yeah, listen. Hopefully, like Sean Brady becomes even a larger favorite, right? Maybe we can get a little nice buy low on this because right now Kelvin Gaston is plus 108, so I think that's pretty decent price right there. But he could potentially even get bigger odds. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. Let's move on to the co-main event of this fight card. We have Rob Font versus Devison Figueiredo. This is going to be a very intriguing matchup right here because we have a guy in Figueiredo. He's moving up in weight at 135, fighting out flyweight for the last few years or so. Um, Rob Font, 20-7. He's 2-3 in his last five. He's coming off of that short notice loss to Corey Sandhagen, where he was pretty much laid and prayed for like five rounds almost. Um, he is fighting against Devison Figueiredo, 21 3-1. It's coming off of that loss to Brandon Moreno, where he had a doctor stoppage with the eye injury there. Both of these guys are around the same age, actually. So they're both kind of a little past their prime, both over 35 years old. Rob Font's obviously going to be the bigger guy here because he's fighting at 135. Devison's moving up. Odds for this fight right now, just to tell you guys. So the odds right now, Rob Font, he's at minus 141, and he opened up at a minus 170. That's some interesting line movement there. Some people have been taking a little bit of action on Devison just because of the dog odds there. Um, yeah, I think that for me, Rob Font, he probably has the best jab at 135. If you look at his jabs, pretty clean boxer, good fast hands. He has pretty good defense and offense. He hits and does not get hit most of the time. He won that banger versus Adrian Yanez. Kind of proved to that young gun that there's levels to this in terms of the boxing. Now, the one kind of issue with Rob Font is that he wears a lot of damage, and he's taken some damage throughout his career just because he's fought for a long time in that UFC division. You can kind of see that in his last fight against Chito Vera, where he fought. He actually outstruck Chito Vera in terms of the volume and striking numbers, right? But you can tell that he was bothered by the power shots. I think Chito like dropped him multiple times during that fight and ended up losing a decision to Chito Vera there. So Rob does have good movement in the cage. He can survive on the ground and not get subbed, like you guys saw with Corey Sandhagen, right? Kind of wet blanketed him, but he didn't get subbed. I think that he's only lost by a sub once in his career, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's only lost a sub by once in his career. I think that Figgy moving up in weight is just going to be the variable that no one knows about, right? Like anytime that a championship former champion level fighter is moving up in weight, man, we don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, the last time that we saw this, I think the last thing that I remember was Kamaru Usman moving up on like short notice to fight at 185, and you guys saw that he had a championship skill set still, right? I guess a guy that as Hamza Chimaev also moved up as well, but you guys saw that former champions, we can't disrespect these guys too much. They do have a good skill set. There's a reason why they're a champion. Figgy, his kind of skill set at 125 though was more so he had a size advantage on people. He had great power as well. Didn't have the greatest cardio, as you guys saw with his weight cuts. It just kind of seemed like it drained him as more and more he went with those fights. I just feel like this fight's going to be just highly volatile, just because we don't know if Figgy's power and all that stuff will translate to this weight change. If it does, this fight could end up being like Cheeto versus Font, right? We could see Devson outpowering this guy for like 3 rounds, and Font wearing that damage. But if it doesn't, Font's going to be able to outstrike this guy with his jab. I think that he's also going to be the bigger guy here, so that's probably going to help him as well. So I would say Rob by decision right now. I feel like Rob is just going to be a little bit better on the feet, and I feel like just my personal opinion is that the weight move up will not translate that well for Figgy. But I can't be swayed either way. I'll probably look at the weigh-ins and the face-offs just to see how Devson really looks. But right now, the pick is Rob by decision. What do you think about this fight between Rob Font and Devson Figueiredo here?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with everything you kind of laid out. I think for me, not I might just slam the over when it comes out.
Oh, yep.
I feel like Figueiredo's, relatively low volume. He kind of likes to, pick his spots to strike. Um, and Rob Font's never been KO'd. And he is the bigger guy, like you said. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think Figueiredo's like, he's tough too. Like he's only been subbed and KO'd in the third round, both against Brandon Moreno. So yeah, curious what the over is going to open up as. Might just slam that and put it into parlays or something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I think that, when the props do drop, those are going to be areas where me personally as well, I'm probably going to attack more on the over-unders than rather than the money lines for some of these fights because there's going to be some volatile fights. I mean, I could see a number of outcomes that could happen for the fights. So sometimes I like to bank on the over-unders, especially if guys are like super durable, right? Like a Rob Font or, Figueiredo or so. Let's move on to the main event here. This is going to be the fight that the fight card was all kind of gravitated towards right now. I think it's going to be an absolute banger. We have Beneil Dariush versus Arman Tsarukyan. Beneil Benny Dariush, 22-5-1. He is 4-1 his last five, coming off of that kind of KO loss to Charles, the Illuminated one, Charles Oliveira. He's fighting against Arman Tsarukyan, 20-3, 4-1 in his last five. Coming off of that kind of a KO ground and pound against Joaquim Silva, who's actually fighting Clay Guida. Um, Benio is going to be the older fighter here at 34 years old compared to Armin's 27 years old. He's also going to be the taller fighter as well, but their reach is actually pretty similar. Odds for this fight right now. So, man, so Armin Sarukian is now minus 260, and he opened up at a minus 175. Yeah, I mean, I get more and more surprised as I see these odds sometimes about Armin Sarukian. I'll let you go ahead and kind of open up this breakdown, this fight. What do you think about the main event here between Beneil and Armin?
I think this is an interesting fight for sure. And I'm pretty surprised by the line movement. But I guess, it is, I can understand it. Um, I So I feel like it would be unwise for either fighter to shoot for takedowns here. Because I don't think either fighter is going to be able to get the takedown. Um, I know in Armin's fight against Gamrot, he won the first two rounds, but then he was getting taken down by Gamrot in the last three rounds. And it was just like Armin was winning, the stand-up exchanges, especially with his leg kicks. They're pretty devastating. He's able to throw that out, like whip it out pretty um, lightning quick. So he has very like nice body kick. Um, but yeah, this fight is tough because I don't think Armin's going to be able to get Beneil down. I don't think Beneil is going to be able to get Armin down.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like the fight's going to stay on its feet. Um, and Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough fight for me to call. I don't really have a side here. Curious to hear what you're thinking.
Yeah, I actually have similar thoughts, man. I mean, this is going to be just an intriguing matchup, like you mentioned, just because I also don't see either guy getting taken down too much, just because they're both such. I think actually their best attribute is their takedown defense and scrambling abilities, right? I
Yeah,
mean, we saw that with Benny Dariush, where he fought Gamrot, kind of stuffing most of these guys' takedowns. Even when Gamrot was taking him down, he would like scramble back up, reverse position, then just like drop this dude. So like, Benny is no joke if you try to grapple him. So and Armin Sarukian kind of same way. I mean, fighting against Islam in his like I think that was like literally his first fight in the UFC. He kind of showed his own. I mean, that was the fight of the night. It was a kind of a close decision, if you will, even though he got 30-27. Like he more than showed out in that fight. He stuffed five of Islam's takedowns. I think that he does have some good skill set on the ground, like you mentioned. This fight is going to be mainly on the feet, though. So the only negative that I see that for is going to be Dariush's durability. We need to talk about this guy's durability, right? Because let's just talk about some of his losses. So he lost against Edson Barbosa with that knee. I don't know you guys remember that, but that was like a highlight knee, and he just got fucking knocked out like easy. He also got knocked out by Alexander Hernandez in the first round, where this dude just bull rushed him, and he just got knocked out and dropped. The last fight that he had against Charles Oliveira, I'm just like kind of hitting, like, I'm kind of beating myself up for not seeing that. I mean, I know you saw that, but Charles, I don't know why Charles is an underdog. Just looking at it now, because like Charles Oliveira is such a dangerous guy, right? And fighting a guy like Benny Dariush, who has been having a suspect chin throughout his career, uh, yeah, that just was not a good recipe. Now, he's not going to have to deal with that kind of as much danger on the feet because the Armin Tsarukyan, I don't think he's that good of a striker, although he's going to be the younger guy here, and I feel like he's going to have better durability. So right now, I'm picking Armin. I'm leaning Armin right now. I am kind of scared to put him in a parlay just because like I feel like the last time I faded this Benil Dariush guy was against Gamrot, and that's why I didn't look close at all, man. Like Gamrot, like Dariush was just like killing this dude. So I feel like if he follows that game plan of trying to wrestle Dariush, right, instead of just trying to strike with him, I feel like he could be in for a rude awakening for Armin Sarukian, I would say. So I think Armin's going to be smart enough, though. I feel like he's going to try to strike with Darius and try to chin this guy just because he's been knocked out before. And Armin, the one thing that we can say about him, though, is that I don't think he's been knocked out right yet. So, like, a one knockout loss actually was in his second fight ever. So that was like 8 years ago. He's probably
Yeah.
developed a much more well-rounded game since then. So just because of the age and durability, give me Armin Sarukian, but I'm probably going to hold off on playing him as a parlay right now, just because I mean minus 260. That was around the same price that Mateusz Gamrot was against Benil Dariush, and that's giving me some flashbacks. So probably passing that right now. Yeah. Well, what do you think about the fight now? After I said that,
No, yeah, no, you made a good point. Like Dariush's chin is definitely suspect, man. Like it's
yeah,
yeah. So I don't know. It is but the odds, like it's
yeah,
surprising that
exactly,
it blew up like that. Um
exactly.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll definitely see. Well, that about does it for the breakdown of the card. This is going to be a very interesting fight card. Once again, it's going to be on December 2nd, so after Thanksgiving week. We're about a week and a half out from this fight card, so please tune in for the fight card. We'll release a best bet video maybe sometime next week, just so when we'll wait for some lines to drop, some props to drop, over-unders to drop, just so we can kind of get you guys the best plays. Because, like I mentioned, I mean, the money lines, some of these money lines look kind of sketch, so we might need to see some prop action, some over unders to kind of solidify some parlays and picks here. Um, Alex, do you have any last thoughts about this fight card before we wrap up?
Uh no, I mean I think we covered it pretty well. What I will say is yeah, be on the lookout for top G's
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, he is Todd G. Gerard. He's really good at finding some over unders. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by what his thoughts are about some of these fights. So we'll see what happens there. Other than that, guys, just have a happy Thanksgiving. I mean, it's been a great couple weeks so far, so a lot to be thankful for. Spend time with your family, your friends, just have a great time. We'll be back for next week with another video, and then obviously to just watch the fight. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys, and just have a great day. Please like, comment, subscribe. Pure Picks Nation, Pure
Ear
Pickers.
Picks Nation, baby.
Exactly. We're on the roll, so just
Let's
just
go,
keep on
baby.
coming. Keep on coming. Get ready for premium stuff, guys. Get ready. All right, we're out. See you guys later.